Here is a look at your gap and go trades for the week of September 16th through the 20th. I will go over price targets on the 5-minute time frame, have a gap recap from the week of September 9th through the 13th, and update the chart as well. Hi everyone, it's Dow on the Dow. First up is NIO. We ended the week at $5.55, up more than 5%. Congratulations if you've made some money off of this ticker. Now for your price targets. To the north side takes us to one level of resistance and a potential take profit area, 563. Another level of resistance, 576, and roughly $5.90. To the south side, support the middle of the trend and a potential buy-in area, 536. Below that, at another level of support, 509. 496, and at -4 standard deviations, 482. Looking left as far as the gaps go, this gap opened up and closed on Tuesday. This gap opened up on Wednesday, closed out on Friday. Actually, no, it did not close. It is still in play for this upcoming week. Let me move this just to make sure. Yes, that is not done. So this will be in play, taking us to roughly $5.60. And as far as this gap closed out right at the beginning of the week on Monday, and it opened up, oops, Command Z. It opened up on Thursday, the 6th of June. So congratulations if you played that gap trade. I will delete all of that because it is no longer viable. This is gone. All right, so we are done with that one. This gap closed to the downside at support 485, ripped up. Didn't make it to this line, but that is still resistance up here. There are many levels of resistance between -2 and 2 standard deviations. Clear sell signal if you are trading, clear buy signal, and now we're at resistance again. So we could be stair-stepping down for a long-term leg up. The 1-year price target is 646. According to TradingView. And we got as low as this week right here. I know it's hard to see because it's right on the line there, but the high was at 666. That's an 18% return on your money for the week. So congratulations on that powerful move that we had. Now these gaps to the south side are still in play. They are not in the channel, not in the zone, not even close. Just something to be aware of. And what else do we have? I think that is it for now. I'll look at this on the daily, the weekly, and the monthly at some other point, but I'm going to keep this moving along. The next one is SOFI. We ended the week at $7.74. We had a nice week as well in this one. Now first, your price targets. Middle of the trend, 778, 790, 796, and 802 to the south side, 766, 760 in the outer bands, and 754 at -4 standard deviations. Note the bounce here at, if we are up here going down, this turns into support and we're just grinding along the line. All right, we have a gap to be aware of that extends from last week into this week. taking us down to roughly 747. And the gap side, the gap to the upside, I should say, that we are tracking is this one. And that takes us to roughly 797. And then above that takes us to 857. I'll mark that out. And then another gap to the north side, not in the channel, not in the zone, not even close, just something to be aware of to the upside. And then this one to the downside and all these other gaps. But we are not there. And, oh, I want to do one other thing. So I'm going to mark out the middle of the trend is right here. Let me put the magnet on to make sure and change the color to yellow. Let's just make sure. All right, 768 is now our middle of the trend. And last week it was 701. So from 701 roughly to where we are now, middle of the trend, we have gone comfortably, oh, I can't even say that word. Okay, up 9% from the middle of the trend to that middle of the trend. But of course, we're even higher because that's where we ended. Let me delete that, don't want to confuse you, but that is the middle of the trend now. The yellow lines, my previous buy-in lines, and the green lines, besides the gaps, are my sell lines. And I forgot to mark out NIO's middle of the trend. So we are right here. At 536, the previous week we were at $5.12. Intel is the next ticker. We ended the week at $19.66. Middle of the trend and the baseline, 1982, 2010, 2025, and the outer bands, should we be so lucky, if we continue to go up, possibly that could be a target towards the end of the week, maybe. 2039 there. 1953, 1938, and 1924. There's a gap that is in play, taking us down. Oh, I forgot, where did my lines go? There. Oh, there we go. All right, so this is still in play for the upcoming week, but we are moving farther away from it. And note the buy-in, sell off here. There's a tiny gap that closed already, sell off there. And that gap is closed. What are we looking for in terms of gaps? So this gap is still in play. Oops. Taking us up to roughly 21.97. Still not there yet. As far as gaps to the south side, that is it, I think. But to the north side, that will take us to 29.04. Not in the channel, not in the zone, not even close. I will draw the middle of the trend where I think price could stay in this gap, in this range as well. But last week we were at 1870 and now we're at 1982. The next one is Nike. Let's talk about your price targets. First, let me clean up this line. right about there. All right, price targets 79.68, 80.05, and 80.40. 78.23, 77.85, and 77.49. As far as the gaps, nothing for this week that I see, but to clean up the chart, this again I extended it from the previous week, and it touched right there at 78.69, so this gap is no longer in play. It opened up on the 14th of August. Done, done, done. And as far as the gap to the north side, we've started to tickle it, but we are a long ways off before we close it out, and that will take us to 94.27. As far as the gaps to the south side, 74.68, 72.67, moving farther away from those gaps as well. And as far as the middle of the trend, we are going down. Even though this has gone up. Let me mark this so you can see this better. So we are right here. This is the middle of the trend. The previous week we were at 80.50 and now we're at 78.96. All right, and that's it for Nike. CVS. We ended the week at 57.89. First, your targets here. Let me clean this up. I moved it out of the way so I could look for gaps. 59.21, 59.89, 60.61, 57.81, 56.39, 56.68, 54.96. As far as your gaps go, this gap to the south side closed out at the beginning of the week, so let me clean that up. It touched right about there, taking us down to 56.04 and wiping out that gap. Thank goodness, done. And that gap opened up on Thursday, August the 15th and closed out Friday the 6th. Or Monday the 9th. And this gap opened up on Wednesday, closed out on Thursday for easy play there. And as far as there are two gaps here, this gap to 63.90 is still in play for the upcoming week. And then this gap right here is also in play. Started all the way here. You can see we've tickled it, but haven't completed that gap. So 67.70 in the big picture, and the 1 year price target 65.09. Now I shall mark out my gap. Well, look at this. It's going to be kind of messy, but if I mark this out, we are now at 57.81. This was 3 weeks ago, last week, and then this week. So hopefully, maybe we'll just grind sideways before going up. All right. TSLY. 13.14, but this chart looks off because it closed and there was no, I don't know, something's missing from TradingView, but that's okay. So to the middle of the trend, 13.21, 13.36, 13.43, and 13.54. So we've got 13.05, 12.98, and 12.91. As far as gaps go, this ticker is very gappy. I don't bother to mark out the tiny little ones. The deviations will close it out. but we gapped up here. That was a bigger gap, so I will anticipate that to fill whenever it does to the south side, but we are moving farther away from that. Look at that W pattern if you play patterns. Sell off at resistance and resistance. All right, to the gaps now. We've got this gap taking us to 1437, this one to 14. And I don't think I'm tracking anything to the south side. Okay, that's it. And now I will mark out the middle of the trend and the baseline to show you other channels and other support and resistance we could be in. No, I don't think that's right. I think that's more like right here. Oops. So we're going into this week here, but last week the middle of the trend was at 1258, and then before that 1354. So now we're at 1316. So we went from here to here, and now we're here, possibly reversing course. Fingers crossed. Tesla is next. All right, let me move this back where it belongs. $231.51, the baseline, $235.43, $237.42, $239.39, $227.59, $225.60, and $223.54. As far as the gaps go, this one opened up on Tuesday. And did it close? No. Almost, but no cigar. This will haunt us to the south side. And that will take us to 216.62 roughly. This closed out 219.61. And this big bopper here, still in play, taking us to roughly 246.23. And then we've got this gap to play with. No longer in the channel, not in the zone, not even close, just something to be aware of. Clean that up. And then we've got this one as well. All right, the next ticker is Apple. My largest individual holding. And when I say large, I mean a really large. And very profitable. Okay. 223.89, 225.32, 226.04, and 226.78. 221.70, 220.96. We are at support, but support could go even lower. It could roll over even more. As far as any gaps go, nothing to write home about. Thank goodness. I just like organic price movements up and down. Gaps indicate maybe some sort of news, and that is an outlier for that day, because if there's something that happens that's major, then that will move the market, but that indicates a gap. But if you just have regular price fluctuations within 4 standard and -4 standard deviations, really -2 and 2, then we're good in my book. Okay, what else is going on? So as far as the targets, Apple to the upside, taking us to roughly 234.61 up there. Not in the channel, not in the zone, not even close. Just something to be aware of in the big picture. And I'm not tracking anything else to the south side, but maybe I'll look for those later. I'm just tracking this gap here. And while I'm here, let me put the middle of the trend line in, because I've forgotten to do that. All right, that's the baseline also. Oh wait, I'm sorry. I'm like, that doesn't look right. The baseline is here at 223.85. Okay. And did I do that for Tesla? No, I did not draw it out. So let's draw the middle of the trend here. So one thing I forgot to say. So we went from here and we moved higher up, and now we're making higher highs on Tesla. Okay. The next one is going to be RIVN. Let me give you some price targets. This needs to be moved. I can tell when something is off. By the end of the week, it should line up with my price target. And now it has. 1385. 1435, 1458, 1485. 1335. I need a drink of water here. 1309, 1285. Something's off here. No, I guess that's it. It just feels slightly off because, or maybe, oh, it's this one. I'm like, these lines are too close to each other. Yeah, I don't need this one. I don't know how I accidentally added that line. There we go. Less wonky, more symmetrical. I feel better already. All right, so now I've gotten myself sidetracked. Let's just give you this again, 1335 and 1434. As far as the gaps go, this gap closed out. It opened up on Friday the 23rd of August and touched right here. Praise the Lord. Okay, done. No longer a threat to our account to the south side, and look at it run. Hit resistance, falling back down, and then touching resistance, falling back down. So that's it for the gaps to the south side. And what about my gaps? Command Z to undo that. What about my gap to the upside? Oh my gosh, I'm tracking this one way up here. And that takes us to 1747. And all of these have closed, thank goodness. But we are not in the channel, not in the zone. We've been whipped around all over this place, up and down and sideways. And now I will mark out the middle of the trend and the baseline so you can get an idea of where price could be headed. So for this week, starting Tuesday the 3rd, we were at 1396. Then we fell all the way down at the middle of the trend to 1342. And now we're back up to 1385. Fingers crossed, we slowly grind upward. And the last one is Boeing. And this is off because I can just tell it needs to line up with my price target that I marked out for the beginning of the week. All right, roughly 160.37, 164.33, 166.38, 168.38, 156.26, 154.18, and 152, what was that? 14, 16-ish. Okay, those are your price targets. And cleaning up the chart, looking left, this gap touched on, did that really touch? You could say it touched here, or to be uber safe, right there. Still Tuesday. And that one was, yeah, Tuesday as well. So let's just drag it out to be more conservative. I like to play conservatively. Take it nice and easy. So this gap, this mini gap, opened up on Friday and closed out on Friday. So I'll clean that up. So we have this gap. The color is off. It should be green. We gapped, oh no, we gapped up. So, oh, never mind. It did touch. It's a gap up. So we closed it to the downside and we touched right there. This line was obscured this gap, so I didn't see it. So that's a big gap closure to the downside. 169.01, no longer in play, no longer a threat to our account. But check this out. There's an opportunity here that I didn't see. And we gapped down. Oops, let me turn on the magnet. Helps you establish your lines. So let me just move this. Right there. And this touched and closed out right there. So we gap down. I anticipate a gap up to fill. And we are in an upward channel. And this is a new opportunity here for Boeing. Thank goodness. So that's one gap to the upside and then another one at 179.26. But right now, slowly going up. This thing has been beaten beaten to death, I should say. I don't think I'm tracking any other gap closure. Okay, I think that's it. And now I just need to draw the middle of the trend. This is for my purposes. So previously we were up here at 172 as the middle of the trend and the baseline. Then last week we started here at 159, so that's a huge drop. And now we are inching back up. So we're here. I will anticipate we hit this line. Okay, that does it for me. That is a look at your gap and go trades for the week of September 16th through the 20th. Have a fantastic trading week.